And this is Dr. Tony Brooks. He is the Assistant Superintendent of Student Support. And this meeting tonight is called because of the cell phone ban that we are about to introduce. And before we get started, we'd just like to pledge allegiance to our flag. So if you might remove your caps and stand for us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So tonight we're here to discuss our future policy on the cell phone ban for our district, and we just like to give a brief understanding of how we got here and the history of what the cell phones have uh, proposed in our district. So 2 years ago, we started out with um, the Yonder pouches. We tried to make sure that our culture and climate was conducive to our school district by introducing a cell phone ban and doing the Yonder pouches. And the students didn't really adhere to the cell phone ban or the Yonder pouches. They took them, they destroyed them, and really didn't put their cell phones in the pouches. So then the following year, we tried to reintroduce it, and they destroyed them once again and um, gave dummy phones and things of that nature. So then we tried to this year come up with a policy where we had an more of a responsible policy where cell phones were introduced, or you could have your cell phones just not in school, not in class, and students still didn't adhere to them. So now we're at this place. So um, we're now proposing and have been approved to introduce a total cell phone ban. So now we're not allowing cell phones on our district property at all. So cell phones introduce or they propose a lot of different policy or caveats and distractions because of cell phones. We've had bullying, we've had staged fights, we've had sexual misconduct, we've had all sorts of things that cell phones produce. Doing policy and procedures or doing drills, kids are not paying attention to the instructions of what the security and administrators are introducing to them because they're on their cell phone on their cell phones. So this has been a culture and climate issue. So now we're at this point. And Dr. Brooks, anything?
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Chief Campbell was saying, this isn't anything new. I was a principal over 20 years. In my experience in being a principal, there were multiple recurrences that were typical or consistent with behaviors among students. When we have infractions, especially those that were of a violent nature, cell phones always played a major part in it. When we dealt with, again, infractions such as bullying, when we dealt with behaviors that happened over the weekend and bled into what we were dealing with on Monday, 9 out of 10, they involved some form of the use of phones. We do know that a total ban isn't anything that we're just expecting to happen and everything is going to be all right. This will be a huge adjustment, not just for students, but for parents, because we'll have a lot of parents that want to advocate for the child having cell phones in schools. We are taking every opinion into consideration. But at the end of the day, this is something that's going to benefit our students. We're not the first to do this. We won't be the last school district to do this. We find, especially with Normandy Schools Collaborative being one of the worst performing schools in the state, this is a step in the right direction so that we can have an increased focus on what's important in school. It's academics. We as a school district are working hard to show the state that we're taking steps to improve what we're doing for our for our students, not just in the hallways, not just in the classroom, but we wanted a measure like this is showing holistically that we're taking drastic measures to ensure that we're creating the best environment for our students. Again, no one's thinking that this is going to be an easy task and it's just on when we come back, everybody's going to comply. The idea of it is for instance, a community forum like this is for parents and not necessarily parents and guardians not necessarily say, hey, we disagree with it, but it's how can we work together to make it happen? It's happening. It's going to happen. The best thing for us to do is to collaborate, all of us as stakeholders, teachers and building level administrators, all of us to say, how can we make this happen? Without a doubt, it's in the best interest of our kids. Now, some of us, again, some of us as parents, we want to advocate for our kids and say, well, you know what? My daughter, she walks home late, and it gets dark. Or my son, he's a diabetic, and he uses his phone to read his levels. Knowing that we have these situations and knowing that this is a measure that we're taking, we have to find strategies to support every student that is reliant upon having a cell phone on campus. So this isn't a meeting where we can talk about, um, the problems. We could discuss that, but at the end of the day, this is something that's going to benefit our students. So it's hard to debate that. It's hard to argue against that. For sure, this is something that will contribute to the betterment of this community.
Absolutely. So to piggyback off of what Dr. Brooks has stated, we're trying to eliminate all distractions from our learning environment. And we have learned over the last several years that cell phones have been a major distraction in our learning environment. So we're trying to eliminate those caveats. And we're asking for your support in doing such. We're asking that you educate your children so that we can educate your children and make them better people and make our community better. So this will be a zero tolerance policy. We're asking that you educate your children. We're asking parents that you keep the cell phones at home. We're not collecting cell phones at school. We're not putting them up. We're not saving them for the end of the day. We're asking that you keep these cell phones at home. And I promise you that the principals, the building level principals, have been educated and understand the needs of contacting parents when need be. We have made provisions that the students will have availability to come to the front office and make those phone calls when need be. In case of an emergency, we promise you we will communicate with the parents to let them know what's going on and how to collect your children at the end of the day. We will communicate with you constantly in case of an emergency. So we're asking that you cooperate with us so that we can educate your children and make this district a better place to be and learn and grow to be better people.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this the first time that this topic has been discussed publicly?
No, so I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. Brooks. We have discussed this for the last 3 years, guys, and we have again, and I'll reiterate that we have tried to have contingency plans with the yonder pouches, with comprehensive policies to uh, eliminate the cell phones from being a distraction, and none, I repeat, none has worked. Again, with the Yonder pouches, we paid a lot of money district wide to introduce the Yonder pouches, and they were not adhered to. They were destroyed. They were not brought back to school. Um, and then kids were bringing dummy phones in. So it's been a caveat of problems. So to eliminate all of that, we're asking that we eliminate any of that, and we just keep all cell phones at home.
If I may
Yeah,
interject.
absolutely.
There was a survey sent to parents and to students. Some of the data reflected some of the major issues going on in schools. The students are as transparent as glass, and some of their issues are directly related to us allowing students to have cell phones in the building. The reason that there's a need for a total ban is because there have been steps, there have been measures taken in the past to try to have a gradual release regarding cell phones, meaning we would allow them to have them, but there would be this caveat: you can't have them in a classroom, or you can have them, but you can only have them in a cafeteria. Those measures were not adhered to. So in turn, I think, in addition to the Board of Education, the superintendent, we have to take drastic measures. Now, again, I believe this is in the best interest of our school community. I believe that our students will benefit from having less the major distraction that they have in class. If you've had an opportunity to be in classrooms, if you've had an opportunity to walk the halls of our schools, you will see cell phones as, again, one of the, matter of fact, if you ask teachers themselves, they will tell you cell phones serve as the major distraction for students learning in a classroom. So, again, I don't think it's a question as to whether this is going to benefit our school community. It will definitely increase the amount of time that's focused on education, with students paying attention, being attentive to what is being taught. In addition to, we're not just focusing on students, we're expecting everyone in the school community to adhere to what these phones serve, regarding being a distraction. Unfortunately, it's our student body that's really connected to these cell phones during the school day. And it's going to take, again, all of us to ensure that we do everything we can to let students know you come to school to learn, and these phones have served as a distraction. Now it's time to focus and work on the increasing the academic side of what we're doing in schools, especially in classrooms.
And as the safety and security director, in my tenure here at the Normandy Schools Collaborative, I have witnessed cyberbullying. I have witnessed sexual misconduct where children think that their private conversations have been made public and has been transmitted throughout the schools. Children have been totally embarrassed. I have seen staged fights that have been posted on social media and has embarrassed our district greatly. I've witnessed during drills children trying to communicate with others and with parents and not paying attention to the directions of the administrators and the security officers in the building, trying to get them to a safe space. Um, so those are the things that concern me as a security director, and why I'm most concerned about cell phones being in the schools. Um, this has been a major distraction during our learning periods. So that's why I am advocating for this cell phone ban.
Are you going to address any questions, or are you going to, not questions, but I would like to hear opinions of how we can improve, or what we can do to work together collaboratively. I'm not necessarily interested in hearing the issues that a cell phone ban will bring.
Okay.
Did we present any cards or anything
We
to?
did, and I don't know if it was made public, but did anybody fill out any cards for questions or concerns at the front door? If not, if anyone has, and since we have such a small group, I will be willing to entertain a few questions or concerns. I'm going to ask my captain and my lieutenant to take one of these mics and pass it around briefly to address any questions or concerns from the public, because we really want to know and we really want your input, because this, again, guys, uh, parents, stakeholders, this cell phone ban means nothing without your support. So we're really asking for the support of the community to make our school district, our schools collaborative, all that it can be and needs to be. So Lieutenant Holly is walking around. She has a mic. So if you have a question or concern for Dr. Brooks or I, please raise your hand and she'll come to you quickly.
I just have a quick question. Um, as a parent, my husband and I, we are, support the cell phone ban. A question that I have with all the shootings in the schools and things, how does that work if God forbid that something happens and there's a shooting at the school? How does that work when your kids can't get a hold of you and all of your parents are worried what's happening with the school, what's happening with my children? Do you have a protocol set up?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you asked that question, because I think that's the major concern for everybody. With our culture and climate and the recent events of the past, I would say 15 years, we've had those events. Every school has an emergency management plan, and there are protocols, there are systems in place to make sure that your children are able to get to a safe space and then contact their parents or their loved one or their guardians to make sure that they know where they are and that they're safe. We will ensure that they have that opportunity to contact their loved ones to make sure that they are in a safe space. And our administrators will do the same.
Hello, I'm one of the nurses here in the district, and I have a some sort of solution. I've been speaking with some of the doctor's offices as far as students that may have be diabetic or have issues going on. The only need I would see for a student to possibly have a phone is if they have an active monitor that needs to be read throughout the day. Also, I've heard that we can use tablets to tap into their monitor so they may not need their cell phone. So it could be possible the nurses could use the tablet to go into their monitor system so it eliminates the phone too. So that's something to consider.
Yes, absolutely. And it is being considered, and we are advocating for that to make sure that the nurses are aware of our students and our babies that have those special needs, so that they can come to you, and our principals and administrators know that they need to come to you on a periodic basis to make sure that their levels are where they are, to make sure that they stay safe. Absolutely.
Hi. So you said that you've been looking into this for 2 years, 3 years,
3 years, yes, ma'am.
and this is the first meeting that we've had about this. And we're meeting about the extreme, no cell phones at all at schools, right?
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So this is the first meeting.
there's been multiple.
No, you said this was the first meeting, right?
This was the first community meeting, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so,
But there's been a lot of correspondence between the district and parents, letting them know that this was the way that we were trending. There's been several attempts to contact parents to let them know that this has been a distraction, and this is what will be subsequent to if those policies weren't adhered to.
okay. So this is the first two-way conversation we've ever had with this district. And you said that it's been ongoing for 3 years. You tried Yonder Pouches once. You reintroduced it again, it didn't work.
Hmm.
And instead of having a conversation with the community, we're at a no cell phone at all on campus ban, which is ridiculous and extreme. It's extreme. As you just said, our children walk home, they walk to school, they walk to the bus stops. This neighborhood is not a safe neighborhood. Um, you banning cell phones and putting it all, blasting it all over the media means that all the predators know that our children are standing at bus stops with no defenses, with no outreaches. This district has a very awful um, tendency. Transparency is just non-existent. It's never existing. Um, this is extreme, extreme. Our kids face a lot of anxiety, and the bullying starts at elementary school. It's not all the ways on the internet. Often it's not on the internet. And they have the cell phones before and after school. So they'll see that somebody posted about them before school or after school. This seems like, again, a attempt to distract or to withhold transparency. Like it doesn't make sense. We have real issues and they're really not being addressed. Like they're not being addressed. We said that we're addressing academics, but there's no tutoring. We're addressing academics, but we've replaced our long-term substitutes with international teachers that the students say can't speak English. They said that they're translating for the international teachers. So we have bigger issues that are hindering us from moving forward. Much bigger issues than cell phones. I 100% agree with you that cell phones are an issue. 100%. But in school, a district-wide ban is extreme, ridiculous, and it sends our kids into a that they can't self-regulate. They need to be able to self-regulate. They need to be able to say, it's time to put this cell phone away and I need to concentrate. That takes their autonomy. That takes away from the skills that they should be learning, because when they leave, they need to go. Some of them do go to jobs. They need their cell phones. So when they leave, they need to be able to say, it's time for me to put this cell phone away. I need to study. It's time for me to put this cell phone away. I've had too much of this internet and it's weighing on my social emotional health. They need that. And taking it away does not fix that. This policy only works in private schools. Private schools where kids are dropped off and picked up by their parents, or they walk outside to a car. This does not work for schools where kids walk outside and then the grounds are unsafe. Not only are the grounds unsafe, the streets are unsafe. That's first and foremost. Thank you.
If you have a question, please take the mic to the gentleman.
Um, I kind of respect what you guys are doing. I understand that. I know cell phones are definitely been a problem, and it ain't just happened overnight. But this is the extreme. Just like the young lady said, man, this is the first lady. Excuse me, this is the first meeting that we've actually had. That I knew about, and I've always kept in touch with my son and what he does academically, as far as being at Normandy and whatnot. And I haven't heard anything about a meeting till we discussed this, and we just went to the extreme. Now, when I get up in the morning and leave my house, whatever, and go to work, it's very comforting to me to know that my son made the school all right. And that's it. I think you're punishing the kids that actually try to do the right thing compared to the ones that don't. And I think maybe try to get a little bit more stringent on the ones that don't follow the rules, you know. And it's like the young lady said, some kids got to walk home, and they need to have access to be able to get in touch with their parents just in case things happen, God forbid. So maybe we can try to change it up a little bit or something, but that's a bit extreme, man. That's real extreme.
So I agree with everything that everybody's saying. I understand your concerns. The one thing that I'm going to disagree with is that you guys are saying that this is the first that you've heard of this. And as Dr. Brooks has explained, this has been an ongoing correspondence with parents, talking about the attempts to keep cell phones as a distraction in classrooms and in schools. So this is not the first time. This is the first community meeting that we've had about it. But we've had several, and I mean several, attempts to contact parents and explain to them how cell phones are being a distraction in schools and posing issues with our learning environment. So I will agree with you with your concerns, but I'll disagree with you with this is the first attempt.
Hello. I just was wondering, is it any way possible to take those cell phones and take technology and kind of incorporate it into the curriculum? Because they want their cell phones if and they're very good using their cell phones. So there should be some way possible to incorporate that into their learning.
That's true. That has happened before. Again, we're talking about gradual release where students were allowed to use cell phones for academic purposes in school. That has happened before. Unfortunately, that doesn't negate the issues that come with cell phones. So that is a great strategy. And if we had students that would only use cell phones for that purpose, it would be awesome. Unfortunately, we don't. So we are at as extreme as this is, and I don't disagree with that. We're in crisis mode, whether you know it or not. You have to be in the schools. You see what your child may show you, but if you're in the schools on a daily and you're able to see the detriment that comes from this use of technology, I promise you, you wouldn't be talking about how extreme it is. And I agree. I don't disagree that this is an extreme measure. It is. But as a community, we need to understand that us taking these measures, we have to have a reason for taking such measure. And when it comes to violence, when it comes to acts of inappropriateness, when it comes to the multiple websites on Instagram and Facebook or whatever, where they highlight the negativity, the things that are happening in schools. It's not healthy. We do have kids who need support. They need social, emotional support, and we're providing that. And a lot of the things that we're mentioning as far as issues, um, and we probably don't even know the half. But I can tell you this: at the end of the day, as much as we disagree with it, regardless if I agree or disagree with it, me personally, I know I have a job to do, and that job focuses on doing what's in the best interest of the child. This, again, is not a popular decision at all. But at the end of the day, when you do what's in the best interest of your child, like we are charged with doing what's in the best interest of our children, I don't care who likes it or who dislike it. From my seat, I'm doing what we need to do. And I'm in the schools on the daily. This isn't a gripe session. That's not why we're here. We're here to talk about, as tough as some of these issues are that we've referenced, we have to work together to say, hey, these are tough situations. What are we going to do to fix them? Every issue that we've discussed, those are issues that we have to have a solution to. You can recognize the problem. Can you recognize a solution? This isn't an opportunity to say, hey, this is, we don't like this. We need to do something else. No, I work with professionals in education on a daily with a number of years of experience. There are so many people who I work with have 20, 25, 30 years of experience in classrooms, in leadership, and no one without question is saying that this is a great idea. Tough, tough decision. Not popular at all. If it were me, I would rather we not have to do this. But if you're doing what's in the best interest of your children, then you do what you have to do, as unpopular as it may be. I don't want to sit up here in front of you all and say this is a decision that we take joy in. Nah, it's not. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be frustrating. There are a series of incidents that will happen because of this that will interrupt learning. That's a fact. At the end of the day, it's going to happen because the people who make these decisions see what's going on in the schools every day. So I would prefer we spend time talking about what we can do to help support our babies as we go through this transition versus talking about the issues that this decision is causing. It is causing it is and it will continue to cause issues. But at the end of the day, these are issues. This community isn't new to different issues impacting us as parents or our students. This is something that's going to happen. So this is an opportunity for us to collectively say, hey, as tough as that decision is, and as much as I disagree with it, it's in the best interest of kids. What can we do to work together to ensure that we do uh, put our kids in the best position to be successful? That's really the bottom line. That's really the bottom line.
The one thing that I'll also add to this, from a safety and security standpoint, the most disheartening thing that I see when we have an altercation in these classrooms or in the hallways, how many children run to the fight instead of running away from the fight just to put it on social media. They are putting themselves in harm's way just to put something on social media. My security officers are tasked with trying to break up fights, and sometimes they have to use extreme measures. And I see more kids running to the fight instead of running away from the fight to get to safety. So when we talk about these cell phones and how we're going to keep our kids safe, that's not the reality. The reality is that they have these cell phones to promote, to exploit, and to embarrass our district. That's the reality. I understand everybody in this room is an adult basically. I had to walk home from school. I'm a Normandy kid. I had to walk away from this building all the way to Northwoods. I didn't have a cell phone, but I was tasked with calling my parents as soon as I walked in the door. I'm home. It's the same times, it's the same kind of people. You say that. You but everybody says that. Yeah. But you have a question back there, ma'am. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I'll reiterate and say this is the first time that we've had a two-way conversation. Do I recall that you guys sent information home or you sent email blasts? Yes. But this is I'm going to reiterate what a lot of people are saying. This is the first two-way conversation. So when you say, what are we going to do about it, as if everybody's showing up for a gripe session, I don't think that's what anybody's saying. I would probably venture to guess that the majority of the people sitting in this room has a child that is not in it for infamy. They're not the children that are going to be running to the fight with a camera. I've watched a lot of Instagram videos
Mhm.
of fights that happen within this school. It's all of Normandy, but the good majority is Lucas Crossing. On the path from here to home, in the bathrooms, in every level, girls and boys. And the majority of those children don't have cameras. There are one or two that like the infamy of it all. And for me, anybody promoting that type of infamy, that's more of a mental toxic disorder that needs to be addressed. And I think that's something that you think about putting into the schools to address those specific types of children with those specific type of mind frames. When you take phones out of the schools, for me, the parent of a child that is not going to be in that type of environment, you're leaving him unprotected. Because how do you assure me that when you take these phones out of whatever, where I no longer can see what's happening? Right now, I see when I go to Instagram and I see the Normandy fights page, and it's 53 fights, and we ain't even at the end of this semester. I 100% am saying to myself, how did 53 fights happen? In bathrooms. Like, after one or two or three or four fights in different bathrooms, in the boys' room and the girls' bathroom, you mean to tell me it's nobody standing near those bathrooms in passings? It's nobody, like, this is extreme because it hasn't been a two-way conversation for you guys to tell me that these fights are happening in these bathrooms. We've adjusted security to make sure they're in each hallway during bell ringing periods and hall. I don't know. We don't know what you've tried, what you've done, but I do know 53 fights and it ain't the end of the semester. It's crazy. And we're just having a two-way conversation. And then I'm sending my child to this school, and my child is not one of the children that's running to a fight with a camera to put it on the internet.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll agree with you that not every child is running towards the fight. And if I gave you that impression, I apologize because that's not the case. But there are a number of students that are running towards the fight to film it. But here's another thing that I would like to address with you is that you're absolutely right. There needs to be a two-way conversation. And this should not be the first time that we have this two-way conversation because your building principal is always available. It's always available. And I'd be interested to know how many conversations you've had with your building principal.
I reported it. I reported the Instagram. Just so you know, I'm not a hiding parent. I am a parent that is going to get in the trenches, and I'm going to let you know because I want to collaborate with you. How do I help you keep my child
Yes,
safe?
ma'am. But we also have, and I like to throw this out to the community, we also have monthly board meetings where I and the entire cabinet and the entire school board sits at this dais and are willing to entertain any questions or concerns that you may have. And I promise you, our superintendent who's sitting in the audience will get back to you or make us get back to you in a timely fashion. So if you have those kind of concerns, I would have loved to have heard about it before now or within the school year so that we can address that.
To me, that sounds like a buffering.
It's not a buffering.
And I'm not.
It's a protocol.
I'm not even saying it like that. I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
want you to hear me out. I'm saying that sounds like a buffering because we don't know what to ask you when we don't know what to ask you. If we follow protocol, if I see something and I report it to the principal of that school because I see that the majority of it is your school district,
Yes, ma'am.
I anticipate you to handle, you to get back and send out information. I didn't see any information that came out after I reported. She told me I know about these sites and I do. So I got that response back, and she did tell me she was addressing it with the security officers, but I didn't get anything after that. This is what happened afterwards, like a decision of banning cell phones. I would think that after you're saying you're having conversations with your security, that you bring us together collectively as a community to have a discussion. We're having this problem, it's elevating, it's escalating. What should we as a community look at doing? Here are the options: extreme, banning cell phones; middle, we try this, and then you have the parents get involved, because I have no problem collaborating with the school to ensuring my child or the friends that we allow to come to our house that are his friends kind of respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we've had that. I think that you do need a village. I think you do need a community, but we've not had the community come together like
So
that.
what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't mean to interrupt. So you're needing more communication back and forth. Is that what you're telling me?
Absolutely. So if you tell us that, because I don't know that you haven't heard it. If I report it to the principal, her job is to elevate it. Okay, she says she's talking to the security officers. I would then anticipate if it goes there, then it goes to superintendent. It comes to you guys. You guys are having a conversation, and then you say, "Okay, let's have a community discussion." I don't know to come and tell you, "Oh, I reported this to the principal. I think we need to have a conversation about like." To me, that's not. We elect y'all to help us
Yes,
be
ma'am.
a community.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm going to appeal to your softer side, and I'm going to ask that you attend the board meetings, and that whatever concerns that you may have, we have that community forum where you come up. I introduce, I give the rules. You come up and please tell me personally what your concerns are. That's the whole community. I have more parents here now and more community members here now. We're talking about cell phone bans than we do in our board meetings once a month. So I'm glad that you all are here, and I would implore you all to start coming to our board meetings and expressing those concerns, because if they're not being heard on the building level, then we need to hear it on the cabinet level and the board on the board level. Someone else had a question.
Yeah. Very quickly, Mayor Brian K. Jackson, City of Beverly Hills, uh, Chair of 24/1 Municipal Partnerships, Co-Chair Mayor Jefferson of Greendale, Mayor McGee of Veneta Park, and Alderwoman McGee of Veneta Park. We stopped by after our Mayor's Only meeting. We always want to be in support of our school district, trying to make our children safer. Um, when I heard about this, um, and actually, I just heard about it today, about this meeting, and made sure that I got here. Um, we always want to be in support of school district making changes that's going to make things safe.
Yes, sir.
And it said it was a community forum,
Yes, sir.
meaning that you're looking for feedback from the community. And it sounded more like a dictation. And I think that's what got some of the people upset, that it sounded like you were dictating to them. And that's probably not the best way to do this. But what I will say about the effort to do this, you may want to consider unintended consequences as a result of this decision. Because once you make this decision, there may be some unintended consequences that you have not thought through yet. I've been an elected official for a long time. I've volunteered at Normandy since 1997. I've coached, I've worked with kids, with Gear Up and everything else. But what I will tell you is that sometimes as an elected official, I can tell you can fix one thing and 10 more things break as a result of that one thing you thought you were fixing.
Absolutely.
I will tell you, knowing kids like I do, having coached kids for 30 years in 2 different sports, I will tell you, even though you put this ban out on cell phones, there will still be cell phones in the building.
Absolutely.
Some way, somehow, cell phones will be in the building. The children will not stop using them. Parents will continue to be even more concerned about their children. And then that comes to a trust issue. People have to trust that their children are safe. And that means that because you're over security and you have other people that are in the building supporting that effort,
Absolutely.
they have to trust that you can keep their children safe.
Absolutely.
And so when they see the level of fights that they've seen, they need to see some of that quail down a bit.
Absolutely.
To know that I can trust you, because the concerns that we're getting from citizens is that they're concerned that, number one, their children are not safe enough even with cell phones in the building. And now they won't have any contact with their child and know whether they're safe or not.
Yes, sir.
So I want to know that conversations are ongoing,
Yeah.
and not that just this edict is coming down about cell phones and then, okay, we've solved the problem. Because I think the major issue becomes, can I trust that my child is safe? And that can only be done by a track record of you showing that
Yes,
my
sir.
child is safe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so I think that's the ticket. But to hear from parents and hear from them and hear their concerns, everybody's concerned about their children, and they're nervous
Yes, sir.
based on history,
Mm-hmm.
based on a track record. So as we trend and show that's trending in a better area, that now I can trust that my child is safe in those buildings.
Yes, sir.
And so I can tell my child, hey, you can leave the cell phone here because they're going to keep you safe in the building. You're going to be fine.
Yes, sir.
That-
Yes, sir. So that's a great point, Mayor, and I'm glad you brought that up. So I will simply address it as saying this: every administrator, every building principal, every teacher wakes up every morning and they come to this district to try to educate children and keep children safe. So there is not a person that walks in one of our buildings that is leaving safety and security at the door and just saying, I'm here just to do a job. Parents need to know that we wake up every morning and we put our clothes on just like they do to try to educate their children and keep their children safe and send them back home the way that they send them to us. They need to understand that. They need to understand that the majority, over 60% of my security staff, are Normandy graduates and Normandy alumni, and they have a vested interest in this community. Most of them still live here. Most of them still know the parents, the grandparents, and all the family members. So we have a vested interest in this community. And I tell people this all the time. Normandy is very unique in the fashion that we are generational. And what I mean by that is that most of the people that grew up here still live here. So we know their families. So we want to send our family members back home the way that we got them. So no one is coming here, family members or parents, leaving safety and security in the wind. We are here to send your children back home the way that you sent them to us, but better. And we will do everything in our power. I'm a Normandy kid. I grew up on 6705 Donald Avenue in Northwoods, Missouri. I am a Normandy kid. I am back here to make sure that these kids get what I did not get, a great education. So my staff have been here for eons trying to make sure that they send these kids out of this district better than what they found them. So you have our promise. We're here tonight to make sure that you understand that we're trying to make this district better, trying to make it safer, trying to elevate our children, our community to a better level. And that's the promise that you have from us. Our superintendent came here with a strong, bold, and I mean absolutely bold vision. And we're trying to live up to that vision. But it's the same vision that you've always had. So we're here tonight. We're spending our time. We have all been at work today. We are all staying late, trying to make sure that you all understand that we are trying to have your best interest and your children's best interest at heart. We're not here to try to punish you or to run roughshod. We are trying to make this district better. And with that, I'm going to give you my phone number and my email address. I am, again, Norman Campbell. I am the Safety and Security Director. My phone number, if you have pen and paper, or if you have listening devices, is 314-814-3783. My email address is ncampbell@normandysc.org. Contact me anytime, any place. You see me in the hallways, you see me in the grocery stores, whatever. Please let me know your questions or concerns, and I will address them the best way that I can. And if I can't, I promise you I'll get back to you. Yes, ma'am. I will repeat that. Norman Campbell, 314-814-3783. Email address is ncampbell, CAMPBELL, @normandysc.org. Thank you for your time, and I thank you again for your support. And we look forward to the second semester making Normandy a better place. But one more question?
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
My concern is that my daughter is asking questions about how will she let me know when she gets home How will she be safe on the bus? And they're being at the bus stop at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's dark. And while she may be safe in that school, she's not in that school on the bus or out in the community where people are actually harassing these young people.
So
How
the
will
good
I
news
know?
is, go ahead. I'm sorry.
How will I know where she is? Uh, is she safe? And her friends and others are having the same concern. She's getting anxiety over this
Yes,
kid.
sir. Yes, sir.
And we're talking about adults. What about these children? These are the ones that's going to be caught in the mix.
Yes,
When
sir.
I'm at my job over here and they're having a battle at the bus stop, I mean, where are you? You're going to be at school or wherever you be.
So the good news is that I'm a retired police chief, and I have a great relationship with our 24/1 community. We have great police departments that are interested in our children also, who are patrolling our bus stops, um, and making sure that our bus stops are safe. And any issues that are going on at our bus stops, we are addressing those. And we just had a meeting about 2 weeks ago about issues that are happening at our bus stops over in Wellston. So we are addressing those issues, and we're trying to make sure that those issues are being addressed. I have uh, every security officer that you see here in the white shirt, and there's one in the back. I don't know if you've seen our pretty new security cars, but we are all over this district, and we are patrolling our bus stops in our community on a daily basis. And they only have jurisdiction on our school properties, but I have such a relationship with our police departments that they have given us the opportunity to go to these bus stops and enforce our policies and procedures. So I promise you that your children are safe on these bus stops, and when they get home, they can contact you and let you know that they are home and they are home safe. And with that, I see our superintendent behind me, and I'm sure he has something that he would like to address.
Yeah, because you talk a whole lot. Good evening. So let me first say thank you so much for being in attendance. We got more people here. Let me excluding the early childhood center. We have more parents here regarding the cell phone than we do parent teacher conferences. That's concerning. We have more people here talking about cell phones than we have parents concerned about senior credits. That's concerning. It tells me about a lot about where our priorities can be. Now, safety is the number one priority, absolutely. But you're not in those classrooms to listen to the level of disrespect those adults get every day. And I can walk down and ask a student to put his phone up away and get cursed out like he was my age. You're not in those buildings. You're not in those buildings when teachers have tests and students pull answers up on phones. You're not in those buildings. You're not in those buildings when they schedule fights in the bathrooms and they film them and put them on social media, creating cyberbullying. You're not in those buildings. There's a couple of lessons to be taught. One of the biggest lessons that we have to teach our babies, besides instructional things, is how to coexist in a world with rules. And you mean to tell me we can't teach our babies how to follow a basic rule? Many of our jobs, you can't use a cell phone at a job. You can't. You get fired. So when we try and teach our babies how to live beyond high school, it comes with rules. We don't just pull a zero cell phone tolerance out of our pockets. There have been an escalation of things. And at every board meeting, I mention we're not following, we're not being discipline around cell phones, I'll give it another 30 days. I did that 4 times in board meetings. 4 times. Each time I give it 30 more days. So I gave it 120 days. Past the 2-time beyond pouches, yonder pouches, past a couple of letters sent home to parents. So this is not the first time. We have to stop harming ourselves. And I'm not saying this is not a bold move. This is an absolute bold move, but it's a move that had to be made to save hundreds, to gain the respect back for adults who are being disrespected every day because of cell phones. And oh, by the way, we're in the lowest 3 percentile performing schools in the state. We have to do some things. Are we moving in the right direction? Absolutely. We have phenomenal relationships with the constituents of the 24-1. All I'm saying tonight is, and I'll put this microphone down because I want to respect everybody's time. It's not about any one of us in here. Yes, we want to protect our loved ones. We have to. But in the end, it's no good protecting our loved ones if we can't teach them to coexist in the world where there are rules. Thank you for coming. Good night.